Assalamu alaikum. Uh, Dear sisters, I didn't want to comment before because I could see that everyone was angry. And sure enough, whenever we would hear such very, very disturbing news, to be honest, I couldn't even read those things that were written. But I would like to say that as talabat ilm, it's extremely important that we would recognize that al-qada, al-ithbat, whenever we want to prove an indictment, is specifically zina. We needed four witnesses. We needed strong evidence. We needed a certain type of evidence that cannot whatsoever be fabricated, be in any shape or form, be photoshopped and so forth. And we definitely need to hear all the different sides, meaning we need to be able to hear the suspect, we need to be able to hear the person that is a victim, and all the different areas involved. All we have is right now a case that is still being trialed. We still don't know the different details. Even such details that was mentioned is still yet under trial. To get involved in a situation where we don't even have the evidence on it, and get into that type of discussion, that takes us back all the way to what Surah An-Nur had always been reminding us not to get absorbed in conversations revolving أعراض الناس. Take it easy, calm down, because this can be a fitna. This can be a fitna, and don't easily get into that slip and speaking about a'rad al-nas when you don't really have the qualification to look into fiqh al-jinayat. I'm sorry, we all, none of us have the qualification to study, to review, and to scrutinize fiqh al-jinayat. Believe it or not, fiqh al-jinayat is one of those chapters in fiqh that is still not updated, even in fiqh. Even in fiqh, it's still not updated. Why? Because of the numerous developed things that we need to actually review during our times. Fiqh al-uqubat, the way that it was before, was dealing with the times back then, but the ways of fabrication, the different methods, etc., that actually requires a lot of advancement, a lot of development, a lot of research that yet we don't actually have. So let's be the طلبة العلم ننأى بأنفسنا عن الخوض فيما لا نعرف. Let's not talk about things that we're not specialized in. Let's make sure that we maintain our deen. Now, can such things happen? It can. What is the best way that we solve this in? We would let the people remember that the, the people that were going against Ali ibn Abi Talib, that were killing the Ummah, many of them were actually Hafظ al-Quran. In fact, Ali ibn Abi Talib, the person that killed him was actually endorsed by Umar ibn al-Khattab, that he had the best recitation, that he had the best tilawah, that it all that endorsement. It's extremely important to remember that as Muslims, you don't necessarily connect to different figures other than al-Anbiya and those that had died, and we know that they died on al-Iman. This is extremely important to keep in mind, that none of the mashayikh are infallible. Many times, especially in the area of women, I think we may hold those mashayikh, those teachers, as as if they were infallible. We have a very utopian image of what it means to be religious, what it means to be a Quran teacher, etc. Yes, we would definitely wish that they were at the level that we had hoped, but we are living at a time where fitna surrounds us all. Now, what we can learn is that none of us are infallible. Abdullah al-Qasimi was was a scholar that wrote in defense of al-Aqidah numerous books. Later, rejected all the books that he had written and actually became an atheist and started writing books accusing the Prophet ﷺ of being a pedophile, accusing the Prophet ﷺ, oh, all those different accusations. We're not ma'sumin, not in our aqidah and not in our actions. Now, the third thing I would like to say is that when you were looking at, for example, the questions, how can it be possible that a devout person, at least seeming like they are devout, we always have to remember the hadith where the Prophet ﷺ, إن أحدكم لا يعمل بعمل أهل الجنة حتى ما يكون بينه وبينها إلا ذراع فيسبق عليه الكتاب فيعمل بعمل أهل النار. In another riwayah, فيما يبدو للناس, to what it appears to people. Now, that's why it's important to always remember that Wallahu A'lam and Subhanaka ma yakunu lana an natakallama bihada. At the same time, encourage those to understand the ayah when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, لا يحب الله الجهر بالسوء من القول إلا من ظلم. For those that were abused, for those that are victims, it is not whatsoever ghaiba to come forward and ask for help to uplift any abuse or any wrongdoing that you are facing. Because the ayah says, لا يحب الله الجهر بالسوء من القول إلا من ظلم, unless the person was مظلوم. Number 5, Umar ibn al-Khattab had said, اقضوا على الشر بعدم ذكره. End evil by not spreading it. Now, this doesn't mean that we don't spread it to not bring awareness. We would bring awareness, but it's extremely important not to spread these things that were mentioned. First, we don't really know how truthful it is because we're not the court and we don't have the specialist to review all of this. Two, Islamically, the way we would charge somebody with zina, the different evidences to prove somebody had committed zina is, where are the 4 shuhada in here? Where are the 4 shuhada? His wife came forward, but that's one person that came forward to say, hey, where are arba shuhada? How are we going to charge someone without arba shuhada? How are we going to look into this? What is the whole case and how do we consider all of this? This is extremely important. We all jumped into saying, Ya Allah, this is this person, as if we had proven everything. And we all of a sudden forgot, if we don't have arba shuhada, we had committed not only qadf, but we would actually be charged with what? Charged with speaking about somebody that is muhsan. If you don't have 4 shuhada, we don't actually have that. And then what did we end up with? Everybody is talking about it. Everyone got involved when we don't actually know the details. We just looked into some things and we just saw that indictment. We don't even have the evidence to really bring about arba shuhada or to bring about all those different things. It's an indictment, and we stood and connected the indictment as if it was proven, and then we said, okay, here we go. El Maghrib Institute said this. Sorry, all my respect, even Al Maghrib Institute is not qualified to review the matters that are related to الجنايات المتعلقة بالجنايات, the things that are related to crime right now. We don't actually have anyone right now up to date with the resources to review الجنايات. That doesn't mean that we leave those criminals, predators out there. Right now, we don't even have the power to indict anybody with such a crime. But what we can do, we can connect to those law enforcement if, of course, we need help, and certainly, but then in that situation, we would have the law enforcement who has all the different resources to review such elements, to review whatever that was put forward. And that's how at least we can probably consider that there is a law enforcement to look into this. And then as Muslimin, we'll go for this, the most important part, which is educating the Muslimat, educating the shuyukh as well, and also reviewing the system that our masajid are working in, and making sure that the women are on a side, the women are on a side. Definitely encourage segregation. Definitely encourage segregation. I know some sisters were like, okay, now they're making the women be right there. Now the ones responsible. This is a tariqa shar'iyya. This is the Islamic way to ensure safety for both. الطريقة الشرعية منع الاختلاط. This is the Islamic way. So to consider it as, oh, right now you're holding us accountable, let's be careful from using the feminist rhetoric without us realizing. Let's be careful from getting absorbed into the situation and forget الآداب الإسلامية, and forget الخلق القرآني. الخلق القرآني سبحانك ما يكون لنا أن نتكلم بهذا. الخلق القرآني is to go back to Islam, to go back to the Quran, to go back to how the Quran treated this and said, well, wait a minute, لا يحب الله الجهر بالسوء من القول إلا من ظلم. Those that absorbed such ilm, what did they say? اقضوا على الشر بعدم ذكره. Because this is going to become common. Everyone's going to start searching for it, and many will replicate such behaviors. But at the same time, definitely, we need to work on making sure to ensure safety, in making more sisters get involved in teaching the women, and more men making sure that we've got the precautions to ensure that even those that are attending the masajid, that they would know the limits for the shuyukh. Assalamu alaikum.